Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Purple Haze. A few of you all have reached out to me to see if I could sum up my thoughts from my most recent Shades of Purple episode, and others have reached out to me about how have I been liking the game Myth Wukong. And so this video is kind of summing up all those thoughts. And so first off, I want to say I am enjoying the game. I was traveling all week, but fortunately for me, or all weekend, unfortunately for me, I was able to get through the third chapter, so I am kind of right in the middle of the game. I'm really enjoying it. All of my expectations have been met. Obviously, the story could be a little bit more clear, but there's tons of source material, which I'm going to get to in a second. But ultimately, liking the game, I think y'all should check it out if you're interested. With that said, let me be honest, there's tons of controversy about this game, and some of y'all heard some of my critiques and my opinions in my most recent episode. But with that said, let me just sum it up. So on one side of the argument, there is a critic from Screen Rant who wrote a piece saying the game lacked diversity and inclusion and gave the game a 6. And on the other side, there are definitely anti-woke or culture warriors or other types of people saying the game is succeeding because it's a lack of diversity and inclusion, or saying that there's no ideologies, it's just a game, saying that it's a game about animals and fighting, and that's why it's succeeding. And so first off, I want to say that any type of claim of workforce harassment, especially in the gaming community, should be investigated. It wasn't up until recently that we had ABK, right? And the claims about workforce harassment there, and it took a buyout as well as some other things such as suicide from some former workers there for us to take that seriously. And we cannot allow that to happen again. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a game studio in a country that recently had a one-child law that disproportionately affected young girls. It's not out of the realm of possibility that there's misogynistic behavior at that studio, whether that's conscious or unconscious. But I do think it's fair to criticize and to investigate that, and that should not be shut down. With that said, though, I think there are like two things I definitely want to bring up. And those two things are this, is that one, this game is a victory for multiculturalism, right? And multiculturalism traditionally is under that umbrella of diversity and inclusion, right? It wasn't too long ago in the Western world that we weren't even allowed to learn about Eastern philosophies. We weren't even allowed to acknowledge great literature, great pieces of literature in Eastern countries, specifically China. And so for us to actually not only get this, but champion it and celebrate it, I can't help but think that this is diversity and inclusion done right. This is the way it should be. This is basically what we should do for many different game developers and stories that may not be traditional. I don't see the difference between, let's say, a Chinese story or a story from another country or a story about another race or a story about another sexuality or a story about another gender. I think that's all rich, and sometimes those games aren't going to hit the mark, but sometimes they are. But as gamers, it's, in my opinion, that we should celebrate them all and give them all a fair chance, not just write them off. So with that said, I think that Myth Wukong is a victory for multiculturalism, Chinese game devs, Chinese mythology, and ultimately Chinese culture. So for that, kudos to you, game science. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is what I think so many content creators, especially the large content creators, are missing out on this when they championing that this game has no ideologies baked in. What I will say is, Myth Wukong is basically based upon a journey to the West. And a journey to the West is paying homage to Buddhism and Taoism. There's so many different parts of this game that actually show that, the symbolism, right? To advance your characters called self-advancement, right? The idea that there's all this chaos, and in the middle of that chaos, you can find time to meditate. Have you ever noticed that after some of the most severe boss fights, there's like a meditation thing right there? Or how about the diverse characters that you run across who are all just struggling in this chaotic world and trying to help each other, right? All these are central tenets to Buddhism. And I think that's a beautiful thing that the game could actually have it in there. I think it's a beautiful thing how they did it. I think it's beautiful how they're actually reaching audiences. Like the whole idea about having to fight a boss over and over, some things that people are criticizing the game, having to kind of go through this game slow but methodical. That's perseverance. Again, so many ideas of Buddhism are in this game. But yet we want to score a victory by saying woke. We want to, are anti-woke. We want to score a victory by the criticizing some critic for a site I didn't even know existed. To me, I think it just misses the point of the story altogether. And it's kind of laughable when you actually understand what the game is about. Again, I think this game is amazing. I also think it's totally okay to say, I love the art, but criticize the artist, or at least question the artist. Questioned, were they aware of some of this stuff? The story material, as I've been digging in, actually has female representation in it that's not in the game. I think that's fair criticism. If there's one thing that the author of the Screen Rant article did wrong that I disagree with, or at least, is that they use the word diversity and inclusion. Just say female representation. Diversity and inclusion is a much broader topic. And I think, as y'all can tell, I think this game is all about diversity and inclusion, whether it's about including the devs, including the story, bringing in the ideology. Heck, parts of Buddhism help influence current day diversity and inclusion. So to me, it's just a weird argument that some of these culture warriors, especially the anti-woke crowd, are trying to use. But overall, why don't you all check out the game for yourselves, or at least I offer you this other opinion that I just gave you. Why don't you tell me why you like the game? Tell me why you don't like the game. Tell me what game you're looking forward to. But regardless, you already know what I say. As long as you're gaming, you're good with me. I don't care where you game, how you game, why you game, what you game on, how long you've been gaming. As long as you're gaming, you're good with me. And as always, this is Purple Haze, and the proof is in the playing. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.